let's get right down to it. What are we going to cover? Spam, scams, screening companies, and why would you need to do any of this? Well, you are bombarded constantly by emails into your account. You don't know whether this is legitimate or not. You don't want to miss a great opportunity, but you really don't want to spend any time on the stinkers. If you find somebody good, that's terrific. If you can confirm that they're really worth it, then you can offer them credit and maybe make a bigger sale than you would have initially. The most important thing here is that taking steps early on can save you tons of money down the road and tons of grief, because you can catch the scammers or the non-serious folks right at the beginning, the very first time you look at the email, and you make a decision and you go with it. Prevention can be free. Pretty much everything I'm going to share with you today is free, but if you don't, if you are not cautious and you sign up with a scam or something like that, it can be very expensive to try to get yourself out of that situation, and sometimes it can be just incredibly damaging. And as they said in the title, the ABCs of due diligence, yes, it is as easy as ABC Google. That's a play on the parent of Google being Alphabet, but it really is as easy as ABC. There are some just amazingly easy things you can do. So with spam, what is spam? Everybody knows, been getting spam for years. It's bulk email, it's advertising junk email. You can recognize it because it usually does not address you by your name. You never want to respond to any spam. Why? Because most spammers verify receipt and log responses. So the more you respond, the more spam you will get. Also, watch that urge to unsubscribe. If you see at the bottom of the screen that it gives you the option to unsubscribe, why should you not do that? Well, because sometimes spammers send fake unsubscribe emails to collect active email addresses. And if you click unsubscribe, it may actually increase the amount of spam you receive. So my tip on this point is that some email programs will have an option for you to block the sender. So if you identify an email as clearly spam, you never want to hear from them again, use that system built into your email to block the sender so you don't receive those emails anymore for that junk out inbox. So how can you recognize a scamming email? Well, is the email addressed to specifically you? We've seen these emails over the years coming from Nigeria very often, where they're like, dear beloved one, blah, 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 dear partner, hello, greetings, something like that. Or does it have your name? Do not click on links in emails which are not addressed to you by name. And even if the email is addressed to you by name, then you need to take the following steps to ensure that they're safe. The following steps in the further slides I'm going to show you today. So you need to carefully examine the email address of who that email is from. Check the spelling. One of the things that scammers like to do is just have one tiny difference. Like here I show the example of Henry versus Hemry. We are zapping through just the huge amounts of emails coming into our inbox. We want to be able to go through everything very quickly. We may overlook that it is klm.int.ua, which is not the same as klm.com. You want to look at these little tiny things. It's these little tiny things that are the tells that this is a scamming email. This is not from the legitimate company. So I know we're in a hurry, but this is where you catch them. So this is where you do need to put a couple minutes of time in to look at the email, look at the exact email address of where it's from to determine whether you want to go further with reading the content of the email, whether you think it's legitimate or not. So does it appear to be from a legitimate company, but it uses poor English, or it omits personal details that a legitimate sender would include? For example, we saw your, hello, Louise, we saw your products on your website. We are very interested in buying from you. Please send us your product list. Well, that's very generic. It didn't say anything about we saw your due diligence services on your website, something like that. So think about that as well. Is this a generic email content that somebody could send to any company and maybe it would be relevant to them? Were you expecting to hear from the sender? That's another one. If it's somebody pretending to be someone you know, but you haven't heard from him in a long time, those can be very scary situations where you have to pay extra special attention whether it really is coming from that individual. If you do click on a link, does it take you to a landing page or a website that is not the legitimate URL of the company the email is purporting to be sent from? For example, maybe you got an email from FedEx and it said your account was suspended, but when you clicked on the link, it took you to some totally different website. That's not good. You shouldn't have clicked on the link in the first place, but that's not good. That's definitely then not from FedEx. So here we go with the first quiz. Would you click on this attachment? So this is all of the examples I have in here for the quizzes. These are all emails that I've gotten. So I think I got this one last week. So take a look at it. And this is where I encourage you to yell out your answers to your screen. You're all on mute because I'm going to show you what I think of this on the next slide. So give it a couple seconds. Take a look at the things on here. Anything stand out to you? Maybe count on your fingers how many things that you can see that look suspicious. Oh gosh, I'm spoiling it because I'm giving you this. Yes, this is terrible. No, you should not answer. You should not respond. You should not click on the link in this. Well, why not? Well, first of all, somebody's sending me 45 million. I'm assuming that they mean, you know, like dollars, but whatever it is, 450 million is a lot. So wasn't expecting this. And it's coming from a Gmail account. And then not only is it coming from a Gmail account, but the first address in front of the Gmail is one thing, and then it's on behalf of somebody else with a different Gmail address. And then even in the PDF, they spelled information wrong. These are things like information. This is a very good example of if you're just skimming emails, this is something that I actually didn't see this the very first time I looked at the email, that they misspelled information. And then see download. So they didn't even bother to have any real text in there, and it's all in caps. So no, you should not click on a link like this. So here we go already with quiz number 2. I already mentioned FedEx. It's on my mind. Would you click on this attachment? It's from FedEx. What do you think? Again, go ahead and yell those responses at your computer. Taking a look at it. What looks fishy here? Well, no, don't click on this one. Look, it's from FedEx, and it's actually louise@indiana.edu. It's not from FedEx. It's from Indiana University, which is not FedEx. The Louise is in there probably because my email name is Louise. My email address is louise@glo-biz.com. So, but what are the other things on here that are standing out to me? So we have some English errors here for your security. We have temporary placed hold on your account. It should be placed a hold on your account. And then to remove restriction on, it should be restrictions. And then if you hold your cursor over the link, the remove restriction at the bottom was actually a hot link in the email. It's not a hot link in the PowerPoint, because so you can't click on it and cause some damage. But if you hold your cursor over the remove restriction thing, that's what the box is that popped up there with the HTTP. It shows you the address of, if you clicked on that remove restriction, where it would be going. And here I've underlined that it's going to flaminggrillpubs.com. Well, flaminggrillpubs.com is definitely not FedEx. So no, you should not click on that link. That's not a good one. So how can you recognize emails from scamming companies? Well, you can do a whois search of their website. If everybody doesn't know what a whois search is, I have some detailed information on that later, but very succinctly, it is the website registration information of the company. So it shows you what's the name of the what's the name of the registrant, when it was registered. It can often show you the IP address where that is located. So what you really want to see here with the whois search is, when was the website established? Because we have seen in all of our investigations over so many years that a website registration for less than 1 year and for just 1 year is a huge warning sign that the company is a scam. And why is this? Well, we just assume that it is that within 1 year of scamming, a company has created such a terrible reputation for themselves that they're basically burned, and so they just go and set up a new website. Yes, it's true that not every new company is a scammer, but most scammers have not been around for more than 1 year. And we really think that the registration date and duration of registration that you can see in the whois registration details of a company website are it's really the number one thing, the first thing that I will do if I'm concerned that a company is a scammer. There's a tiny caveat on that some scammers are starting to get wise to this. So they're actually taking over websites that are older than a year. And that gets a little bit more complicated. So let's just stick to the simpler thing that you need to know that if the website has only been around, was established less than a year ago and was only reserved for 1 year, huge warning sign. If you see that the website has been around longer, that's not a get out of jail free card, but that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. You need to take some more steps to ensure that that company is not a scammer. What else can you do? You can Google the company name. Do you see anything coming up besides their own website? You can Google the company name and company search. The country name and company search, or try, and here I have, when you all receive the PowerPoint, these are hot links in there, so you can just click on it to see what I mean. But the second one in here, the .gov UK website, that is a brilliant link for you to try to find legitimate government company registration sites. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if you were trying to find whether a company is legitimately registered anywhere, you can, if you're looking for a company in the United States, you can type in Illinois and company search to see if you can find a government-run website that has company registration details in it. There are many private companies that provide information on company registries. However, they are not necessarily complete and they're not necessarily up to date. So with this UK the gov.uk government publications overseas registries link, that will take you to a UK government site that has a huge list by region and then by country, where you can click on the link and find the official company registry website for that country. A little caveat there is it doesn't have every single registry, and not all countries allow their registries to be publicly accessible. And then for some registries, it seems like somebody decided with the new year that they would make it less easy for people just for free to be able to check out on these government websites whether companies are registered or not. So for example, the Hong Kong government site used to be free. You could click on unregistered user and you would get just amazing access to a whole bunch of different information. Now, if you go to their website, you must register, and registration includes providing an ID, so like your passport, something like that, and other identifying information before you can access that information. And as a matter of fact, I think Canada recently did that as well, but there are some Canadian government websites that you can still access without registering, and it's all for free. So one that I do like to go to that is not a government website that has tons of information, but again, not every single company is on there, is the next one on the list, opencorporates.com. That does have companies all over the world. And it can be very helpful because sometimes you can put a company in there and you think that it's based in Barbados, and then you'll see that they have entities with exactly the same name in other countries as well that you wouldn't even think of to look at. So it can be an extremely helpful place to look for companies. And again, it's free. You don't need to sign up to use it. It's not 100, it doesn't have 100%, but it's an excellent resource. It's free for you to go to look and have a good idea. Some other things you can do, you can Google the company name and the contact person's name and scam or fraud or cheat, whatever you come up with. And please, if you see any negative information, stop all communication with them. And yes, I do know that people post negative information, like I went to that restaurant last night and the servers were terrible and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you have to read the comments and really take them to heart. And I've heard this from people saying, yeah, but they're not going to scam me. Okay, why would you even want to get started with a company who's a scammer? So just, if you see anything negative, yeah, you do have to read it and decide whether it's somebody who just has their knickers in a knot, or whether you can believe it. But please, if they have truly scammed other people, then that's what they're intending to do with you. So just move on. Some sites where you can see if they have scammed other companies or not are ripoffreport.com. And then another one is Supplier Blacklist, which does require you to register, but the registration is free. So quiz 3. Who is your daddy? As I mentioned, who is earlier. So this is just really the number one thing that I like to do if I'm thinking this one might be a scammer. I'm going to check it out. So here's a real email that I received in December. And I'm excited. I do have some government contracts. So I see the gov in the email address there. It has some, look, it's from the Department of Energy. It has a very governmenty looking PDF attached with the SOWEI, blah, blah, blah. So, wow, this looks pretty exciting. And RFQ, yes, I do get things like this from government entities. What would you do? Oh gosh, I already gave it away because I'm calling it Who is Your Daddy? Yes, you put that website extension. You see the email came from this person at EIA/gov.com. So let's go to Whois and put it in. My favorite Whois lookup to go to is domaintools.com. So I just click in domaintools.com and the Whois comes up. I type in the name I type in the website extension. So here I just pasted EIA-gov.com and I click search. And what do I see? Well, the first thing I want to look at is the date of when it was registered. And I just looked this up in preparation for this. So when I looked this up in December, it was 2 months younger, but you will see that it's less than a year old and it was only established for 1 year. You see, it was created on 2021 6/11 and it expires on 2022 6/11. So this is a huge, for me, when I see this, I go ding, 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 red flag, red flag. Something else that stood out to me here and looking at the Whois record is that the tech contact is in Reykjavik. But this guy is supposed to be from the Department of Energy in the United States. So wrong country there. That's not cool. And this is just also something that I put in yellow. The registrar is named cheap. And the reason that I put it in yellow is I have to say that many of the scammers we have uncovered have used Namecheap to register their website. So what else is fishy about this website? Some of you might already have realized this, but this isn't really, I got excited right when I saw this because I was skimming through my email so quickly with the gov.com. That's not actually a US government site. It has to be .gov, not .com. So the scammers are playing off on that people are really in a hurry to go through their stuff. They're not going to notice that this is not from a .gov. This is a gov.com. So that is a big tip off, but you could have missed it. You could have missed it, and that's what they're counting on, for you to miss these little things, these little tells that are actually screaming out at you. So let's look at the rest of the text here. Do we see any issues here? Well, I highlighted in red immediately, because if anybody ever wants you to respond to something immediately, that is a red flag. Anything that has to do with rush, you need to actually sit back, deep breath, and take extra time to make sure that it is something legitimate. So here we also have some English language errors. Please immediately response instead of respond to. And I underlined in yellow the other things that are language issues here. So here we have one. How could you solve whether you should take this email seriously without checking the Whois record? Well, you can also check the Whois record if you want, but I want to teach you something new. So take a quick look at this. Go ahead, yell out the answer to your computer screen. And does anything stand out to you? Well, let's take a look at what I highlighted. I highlighted the looking for the real website of that entity. I'm going to go back and see that this is coming from supposedly coming from the National Endowment for the Humanities. And I can see on the email address for the person that the extension, the website is nehgov.org. Again, we see the gov in there, making me think that it's a government website. And, you're in a hurry and you're thinking, well, the National Endowment for the Humanities. I mean, that does kind of sound orgy like org-e and org-e, org-e. Well, maybe that's right. So let me just make sure. Let me see if this is really their website. So I just copy pasted National Endowment for the Humanities. Oops, wrong way. Sorry. Into Google, and I see that their website is actually NEH.gov. So again, proving my earlier statement that for a US government entity, it's going to be a .gov. It's not going to be a .org. It's not going to be a .gov. So if you see the gov in there and then there's something after it, be forewarned that that is likely a scam. So, and actually just for fun, I went to their website, and you see on their website itself, they have a scam advisory. Apparently these scammers have been doing this for a while, and so significantly that the NEH actually put the scam advisory on their website. And I actually, nice person I am, I did click on the report scam and I sent it to them, and they even responded. They were thankful that I did that. So what else is fishy in this email? Well, as I said at the very beginning, you have to check, is it addressed to you? This is addressed to Dear Supplier. That's not specifically to me. Find the attached of our request for quote. There's some English language errors there. We have a punctuation error here with the next one with the date dot also. There should be a space, and the also needs to be capped. And then we have the regards is capped, whatever. It could be a simple error, but it is an error. And then we have a comma after the zip code, and then we have 2 dots after the telephone number. So these are all, this email is actually riddled with things that are screaming at me, do not take this seriously, this is a scam, delete. So, but what happens if you get an email, it's addressed to you? It looks like it might be legitimate, but it's in a foreign language. So here's one that I got recently, I think last week. It's addressed to me, Louise. Here we go. It's in Turkish. Well, you know what? I don't speak Turkish. Not going to happen. But what can I do? Well, I'm going to go to translategoogle.com to see what it says. So I just paste the content of that email into the left text box, and I have it on language detected, and it detected that it was Turkish, and then I have it set to tell me what it is in English. Good morning. This is the second time I am requesting a quote without any response from you for the attached items. We have a definitive investigation. Please plan to bid us based on the. So if there are any English language, it's an automatic translate, so you can't be too severe there, but you definitely get a gist of what the individual is trying to tell you. Well, you know what? This actually sounds like maybe this might be real. This is the second time they contacted me. They're requesting a quote. They want to hear back from me. Maybe I should take this more seriously. So I want to check out the website. So I go to my trusty who is, and I type in the website of the company, which was at the bottom. I'm going to show you back here. It's at the bottom of the email where it says the email info@adlmachina.com, and then there's another email address to reply to. So I take that company email, the adlmachina.com, and I put that into my trusty who is. I click search, and I see that there is the name of a Turkish company there as the registrant. I see, wow, this website is over 3,000 days old. So it's definitely not a new website. Here, the address for the tech contact, I have it in orange because it is a similar address to the one on the email that I received. It's not exact, but it's similar. And in green, I have the phone number, because actually the phone number here is the same phone number on the email that I received. So this is kind of looking like it might be legitimate. What are you guys thinking? Yell at your screen. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Well, I'm going to do a little bit more digging. So I look up the company on Google to see. So I put in the whole name of the company into Google, and I see that, wow, there's even a Google Maps thing there. It has the same address, the same telephone number. It has the adlmachina.com website. And I also see, so here's some LinkedIn's. Well, whatever, somebody could be scamming that. But then there's a separate site, apollo.io, that has the mention of this company. So these are all looking pretty good. So where are you guys thinking? You think this is a good one? Is a bad one? Let's see, do a little bit more digging on this to see. Well, what makes me still not want to reply or click on the link? I'm going to go back to the email and I'm going to say, look at who it was from. The email, it's from a Gmail. And actually, if I were to respond to this email, it would go to this strattonschwett@gmail.com. I could click and change the reply to info, but it's intended to go to this strattonschwett@gmail.com. And then I also, in looking back at this, noticed that although it does address me by name, it doesn't have my, the L is not capped, it's lowercase. So it's actually just, they just pasted they just used the first name of my actual email address. They just pasted it on there. So it's a bit of a tell here that they don't have the first letter in my name capped. But it could just be that they don't know that Louise, maybe they think it's Ioes, however you pronounce it, maybe they think it's a cap I. But I'm feeling like there were a lot of positive signs on here, but I'm really not sure. So I want to see if this strattonschwett@gmail.com really works for this company. So I just go back to Google and I paste in the Gmail email address plus the website, the real website, and nothing comes up. Nothing at all came up. And what do I think this is? I think that this is an imposter pretending to be from a legitimate company. We have been seeing this more and more where the scammers are getting super duper tricky, that they are using the contact details of a legitimate company. They are saying that they are working for a legitimate company, but they don't really work there. They have a different email address. This was fairly obvious with the Gmail, but maybe somebody a little bit sharper would have had, instead of ADL Machina, they would have ADLNAKINA, things like that you wouldn't necessarily notice. That it wouldn't go to the real company, it would go to the imposter. So we are seeing this a lot. It makes for you. You have to be extra vigilant because the scammers are upping their game constantly. And one of the big ways is an imposter. This is why it's very important when folks order reports from us, we always want them to tell us, who are you dealing with there? Please provide us the email address and the contact telephone number of the person you're dealing with there. Because if you order a report from us and the company is legitimate, but you didn't tell us who you're dealing with there, you might think like, oh, I'm dealing with a legitimate company. Yeah, the company's legitimate, but you're not actually the person you're in communication with doesn't really work there. You are dealing with an imposter. So you need to try your best to confirm that the person you are communicating with really does work for the company. If the company is a scammer, one thing, but if the company is a legitimate company, are you really communicating with that legitimate company? So This is going back to my earlier slide of how you find out official company registry information. So this is where you go if you go to if you click on, for example, UK company search. If you put that into Google, this is what comes up. The things that look good to me are, the first one is a .gov.uk. The second one is a .gov.uk. So I know that these are official websites, and I can count on the information being more accurate and more current. So if you follow that link and you go there, you see that you can search by the company name, you can search by the company registration number, or the officer name. The gov.uk website is brilliant. It provides so much free information for you to search for companies and individuals. You can also see where the directors where they are in other companies, in what other companies they are involved in, also companies that don't exist anymore, or they do not hold that position anymore. And they will also tell you the nationality of the individual as well. So this website is a huge free treasure trove of information, and I use it a lot. And I will have to say there are quite a few scamming companies registering in the UK. That government does take it seriously, but still there are a lot. So just because you see that the company is registered in the UK, don't think you're off scot-free. You also need to check out to make sure that it is a legitimate company. And I want to point out also, when I say legitimate, most scamming companies are actually registered. It's just, again, with just like the website, if the company is recently registered less than 1 year, we automatically red flag it, because most scamming companies will not last for more than 1 year. So this is another site that I referenced earlier, Open Corporates. You can check to see if a company is on opencorporates.com. And I typed in a company here that I was looking up last year, and it helped me to be able to determine that that company was a fraud. You can put it, if you want to specify which state or what country, you can look, and it is also a great free treasure trove. It is not 100, it doesn't have all companies, but it's a great place to start. If you do find a company there, that provides you more information than if you did not find a company there. Let me put it that way. So what gives me an indication that these companies are legitimate? Well, do they have good social media coverage, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. But just because somebody has a lot of connections on LinkedIn doesn't mean that they're legitimate. As a matter of fact, people can say that they work for a company they can, in their LinkedIn profile, they can say that they work for a big, huge company, but they don't actually work there. So the information can be helpful, but you should not solely rely on what information is in their social media profiles. Do you see organic internet traffic about them, and not just their own website or a paid site like they paid to have their stuff on Alibaba.com? You want to see maybe somebody's writing newspaper articles about them, or somehow they're quoted or something like that. You want to see other sites that are mentioning these companies. You need to, as I mentioned earlier, make sure that the person you're dealing with truly works for that company, not like the ADL Makima one, where it was actually a Gmail address, person who doesn't actually work for that probably legitimate company. You want to see that the contact actually has the website extension of the company itself. You can also Google the company in the local language. You can use the Google Translate to see the results. You want to see if they have any job listings or other things, because a lot of times you'll find more information on a company if it's in the local language. So this is what you will be getting with the PowerPoint. This is an interactive PDF that you can click the boxes, and it is an absolute summary of all of the stuff that I just went over. So these are the things that you want to do. You want to look at the who is information, and do this literally for every company that comes into your email inbox. Do you want to see, well, for the privacy on the registration information, I have to say that that's something that so many companies have privacies on their registration information nowadays, that it used to stand out as a bigger warning sign than it does now. It's fairly common for privacies to be on registration information, even if it's a legitimate company. You want to make sure that the name of the company matches the company, the name on the website matches the company you're dealing with, that the location does. Like I said, not Reykjavik. If they say that they're in Washington, D.C., then it shouldn't say they're in Reykjavik. You really want to see when it was established. Was it established more than 1 year ago? Was it registered for more than 1 year? And then you want to check the internet coverage by Googling the company name and website. You want to see positive internet traffic about the company, and you want to try to find the registration details. You want to see specifically, were they established more than 1 year ago? And again, just because a company is new doesn't mean it's a scammer, but most scammers will not be more than 1 year old. So once you have done all of that, the company has passed the GloBIS Blitz scam screening, and you've decided to move forward with them. You should still be cautious. And what information should you ask the company to provide you? You want this is like your own insurance policy. You want their full company name. You want the name in the local language too. The reason why is because the local language name will be a unique identifier. There will only be one company in that jurisdiction with that exact name. So when I say local language, I mean like Chinese characters or Arabic or something like that. You want their business registration number. That is also a unique identifier. Sorry, one more thing that I want to say with the local language. A lot of companies whose local language is not English, like let's just say China, when they register their company, they register in Chinese. They don't register in English. So the English language name that they're using with you may not be their official English language name. They may not even have an official English language name. And sometimes they have an official English language name, but it's not the English language name that they use on their website or in their dealings with you. But what you really want is that Chinese character name, because that will be the unique identifier for them. You want to know their address, and you want to know their contact numbers. These are essentially CYA things that if something goes wrong, you know who this company is and how you can reach them. And if somebody doesn't want to share that information with you, then you should move on and not want to do business with them. And how can you obtain, so you've done all of that stuff, and you want to move forward with your relationship with them, but you're concerned about maybe compliance issues. You can't visit them nowadays because of COVID travel restrictions. Well, you want to do a little bit more digging. So you can Google the company and the key individuals. You want to look for negative media. Sometimes you can find reference to criminal activity. A lot of times, if you Google in the local language, you can find things like if there are any legal cases pending, or some negative information about them, you'll have maybe a greater tendency to be able to find the information if you're Googling it in the local language. This is our hack for getting around finding litigation records on companies in countries where that information is not centrally located, or otherwise not available to be found online. That usually if a company or an individual did something bad, people write about it. And so you can find blogs mentioning it and things like that. If the company has changed its name, you should Google the previous company name as well. Why? Well, we see this, it's again in connection with litigation records, that oftentimes if a company has a major litigation associated with it, it will just change its name so that if people Google the company name, the litigation records don't come up. You can search for them on OFAC, which is a US government site, free search. If they're on there, you're not allowed to do business with them as a US company. One of the sites I love to look up companies on is Offshore Leaks. That is definitely for compliance reasons. If you're checking out a company and you want to see maybe that they showed up in the Panama Papers, something like that. It's a red flag if we find companies there. And you also, if you're checking reviews of a company, you want to make sure that they're reviewed by unbiased third parties and not just recommended by their friends or their uncle or things like that. And on the same angle, you want to reach the references via the company switchboard of the company they say they work for, not their cell phones. In a lot of countries, cell phones will have a special, digits in front of the number will have a different area, it's like an area code. They will be different. In the United States, that's not necessarily the case in most cases, but in many other countries, cell phones have particular digits in front to identify them as cell phones. So you might not be able to identify that whether you're calling a cell phone or not, but you really want to call them on the switchboard. So that will help you confirm that that individual really does work as the purchasing manager for that company. You always want to separately confirm any registration documentation that you have received from the company in question. So fantastic if they send you a scan of their registration information. We have seen so many forgeries of these where they just copy paste or cut and paste or paint in their name onto a document. So that's great to have. But if you do find that they forged that document, then stop doing business with them. I actually had like one or two clients who were like, well, yeah, but, and I'm like, well, they forged their registration document with you. I mean, why would you want to do business with them? That's just me. How else can you decide whether you want to do business with them or not? Hey, you can order an ICP on them from your local US Commercial Service office. The ICP stands for International Company Profile. And so Margaret and Haley can help you out with information on those. So in conclusion, scammers are easiest to catch right at the initial contact. So establish and follow an email screening protocol. My tip to you is use that GloBIS Blitz scam screening with every single one. You will get faster over time. It usually takes me less than a minute to go through websites, but for one, like that Turkish one, it did take me a little bit more time. I wanted to be sure that I wasn't missing an opportunity. And of course, not all new companies are scammers, but most scammers are new companies less than 1 year old. And if they have passed your free searches, please consider a professional report. You might learn that you can grant them credit, enabling you to make a much bigger export sale. And if you find negative information on the company or individual, please stop wasting your time on them. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So that's it. And you know what? I forgot to mention that everybody's allowed to send your questions into Q&A. So I'm not sure anybody has thought of that on their own, but just in case they have, I think that Haley was going to help us out with the Q&A session. If we have any questions from anybody, thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you.